In the beginning, there was energy, without source, without destination, drifting through the cosmic abyss, gathering in clouds, convulsed by turbulent currents that clashed and clashed again, in chaotic eruptions that spewed forth and reformed into a complex new form, matter, with an order and a purpose. And it cooled and crystallized, and after eons of darkness and violence, it was cleansed and its purpose fulfilled. Life. But before the first creature squirmed from the primeval slime into the light of day, the fragile balance between earth, sea, and sky was maintained in a way that preserved energy. For the natural cleansing process, over millions of years, crushed and transformed decaying vegetation into fuels, fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas. And then came man, who took coal and burned it for heat, and harnessed its energy in engines, and it was dirty and blackened his skies, and he called it progress. And he took oil, refined it, burned it for heat, and harnessed its energy in engines, and it was dirty and burned his eyes, and he called it pollution.
That brown line on the horizon there is smog. It was formed yesterday in the city, and last night it blew out over the ocean in the wind. Today it'll blow back over the city. More than half of that is caused by automobiles.
Fred Jennings is a private consultant with 32 years of experience in the automotive and aerospace fields. He was hired by the General Services Administration to evaluate a GSA program designed to help find a solution to the automobile pollution problem.
The brown color is oxides of nitrogen. The smoke is smoke. However, there are things in it that you don't see. One of the things is carbon monoxide. That is a poison that is put out by automobiles, and almost all of it is made by automobiles. There are also unburned hydrocarbons in it which react with the oxides of nitrogen, and that's what makes your eyes smart. Getting rid of that is what the GSA's dual fuel program is trying to do.
President Nixon had stated the problem clearly when he said, "Together we have damaged the environment, and together we can improve it." GSA's Transportation and Communications Service operates over 60,000 vehicles in federal motor pools throughout the country. The agency was in a unique position to respond to the President's call and take the lead in exploring ways to reduce automobile pollution. The program began modestly late in 1969 in Los Angeles, California. A test project was arranged involving 24 vehicles in GSA's motor pool at the Sawtelle Veterans Administration Hospital. 12 vehicles were converted to a dual fuel system, allowing them to operate on either natural gas or gasoline. For the purposes of the year-long test, they operated primarily on natural gas. 12 control vehicles were operated on gasoline for purposes of comparison. A refueling system was installed, a quick fill system which allowed the vehicles to refill their tanks in a matter of minutes, and a larger system that could refill all vehicles each night. Since the vehicles returned to the garage each evening, the dual fuel system was easily adaptable to this fleet operation. The results of that year-long test program were encouraging.
What we found out was that the overall sum of the emissions turned out by these cars is less than 1/5 of what it was on gasoline. The three emissions that you pay the most attention to are hydrocarbons, that is unburned hydrocarbons, the fuel that comes out of the engine that didn't quite get used up. The oxides of nitrogen, which react with the hydrocarbons. Also, the carbon monoxide, which you don't like because it is poisonous. The sum of these three emissions, when you're burning natural gas, is what you actually reduce to less than 20%. When it comes to pollution, you can look at it this way. This pile of sand represents all the pollution put out by this vehicle. Changing to natural gas allows you to cut off 80% of the hydrocarbons, about 50% of the oxides of nitrogen, and 90% of the carbon monoxide. And what you have left is just a little bit.
The components of the dual fuel system are neither complex nor exotic. Tanks to hold the compressed natural gas. Two regulators to reduce the tank pressure from 2,200 pounds per square inch to less than a pound. Two solenoids, so the driver can switch back and forth from gasoline to natural gas. And the heart of the system, a fuel air mixer which replaces the air cleaner atop a standard automobile carburetor. While the cost of conversion is about $340 per vehicle, there is evidence that there are significant cost savings associated with the system.
If you compare natural gas to gasoline, the most important thing you find is that natural gas is actually cheaper than gasoline, and as a consequence, every mile you run is saving you money. When you're burning natural gas in the engine, it doesn't form any deposits. Not only that, it doesn't dilute the oil, and it doesn't foul the spark plugs. So you end up with a considerable saving in terms of oil filters, oil changes, and spark plug changes. You have to buy the fuel-air mixer and the tanks and the loading equipment and so forth. So that when you convert to natural gas, you start off with an investment that has increased your cost. But in terms of miles per dollar, you're ahead. As you run more miles on the car, you eventually recoup your investment. We haven't found all the answers yet, but I'd like to think that through programs like this, the time will come when my grandchildren will breathe air that isn't polluted by the automobile.
And so natural gas proved to be a clean burning fuel that offered additional benefits, lower operating costs. But there remained a problem space-age technology would solve. Vehicles powered by compressed natural gas have a limited driving range, 70 to 120 miles, depending on the number of tanks. For vehicles that return to a central refueling facility each evening, this is enough. But it does not compare to the mileage offered by a tank full of gasoline. The solution to the problem lay in the field of cryogenics, the science of the super cold. Since before the turn of the century, scientists and engineers had experimented with methods of liquefying gases. But the most significant progress was made in the field of rocketry. In order to carry enough fuel to boost a man to the moon, scientists reduced the volume of their gaseous fuels by chilling them to a liquid form. Natural gas works the same way. By taking methane, the same kind of natural gas used for cooking and heating, and chilling it to 258 degrees below zero, it would liquefy and reduce the volume of the gas by a ratio of over 600 to 1. It weighed about half as much as water. The gas industry in the mid-1960s began developing liquefied natural gas facilities for a reason completely unrelated to automobile pollution. Companies found that liquefied natural gas was an economical and efficient way to store large volumes of gas during the summer months for later use in the winter. Shortly after constructing an enormous 620 million cubic foot facility, the San Diego Gas and Electric Company began experimenting with liquefied natural gas as an automotive fuel. Progress continued. 5 years later, the General Services Administration decided to adopt the LNG system to its own dual-fuel project. GSA's first full-scale experiment with liquefied natural gas came with the decision to convert 100 vehicles at its Boston motor pool to the fuel. This system is similar in many ways to the compressed gas system. The multiple storage tanks are replaced with a single thermos bottle type insulated tank. The liquefied fuel passes through a heat exchanger, which converts it to a gas and at the same time regulates its pressure. The same fuel-air mixer replaces the air cleaner atop the carburetor. The LNG system combines the anti-pollution qualities of natural gas with a driving range that is similar to gasoline. While reducing automobile pollution was the primary goal of GSA's dual-fuel program, there was another aspect that was equal in importance. It was the matter of safety. Working closely with safety advisors at the Department of Transportation, NASA, and GSA's Public Building Service, tests were conducted to assure that the natural gas systems, both compressed and liquefied, would be as safe as gasoline systems. Crash tests were conducted to assure that in the event of an accident, the dual-fuel system would not present an additional hazard. It was known that natural gas possessed certain qualities that were safer than gasoline. In the event of a leak, the natural gas would escape upward into the atmosphere rather than form in puddles like gasoline. Additionally, it burns at a slower rate than gasoline. To prevent leaks, only the highest quality piping components are used. Tubing, valves, and fittings are protected from damage. Solenoid valves that close automatically when not in use are installed. And air vents are added to the passenger compartment and trunk. GSA's dual fuel program, in 2 years of operation, has had an unblemished safety record. There have been no hazardous incidents, no fires, and no injuries. The success of GSA's dual fuel project and other developments in both technology and refueling capabilities has prompted interest on the part of some commercial fleet operators. Rene Corbeil, manager of environmental affairs for the Southern California Gas Company, was one of the early pioneers in the dual fuel program.
For a number of years, we in Southern California, as you know, have had a rather serious air pollution problem, and the gas companies have always been concerned about doing whatever we could to reduce these emissions. It's a well-known fact that some 90% of the problem is as a result of motor vehicle emissions, and it was the decision of our management to attempt to do something about it. And natural gas being a clean fuel as it is, and of course we had some experience with natural gas as a fuel for internal combustion engines, it was decided that we would give a try at reducing emissions from the motor vehicle with that as a fuel. We converted a vehicle, we put in a little compressor and started fueling the vehicle, making adjustments, trial and errors, and as a result of this effort, we're quite pleased that we have now been able to reduce the emissions from vehicles, regardless of age and regardless of engine size, down to the point to where they meet the California 1975 standards. Good morning, Jeff. How are the cab conversions coming?
Just fine, sir.
Very good. How many do we have in? Everyone is interested in doing something about reducing the emissions, but there is always this problem of finance. So we had discussions with the bank authorities. They too are concerned about the air pollution situation and agreed that something needed to be done to make the necessary capital available for equipment to reduce emissions. And with their interest and with the interest of the fleet type owners, particularly the taxi cabs, we were able to arrange for a low-cost loan to convert their vehicles. The maintenance costs are reduced. This is as a result of fewer oil changes. Spark plugs do not need to be changed for 50,000 miles. This would compare to 10 to 15,000 miles with the regular fuels. We find that the engine lasts approximately twice as long. All of these advantages indicate that a taxi fleet will recoup its capital investments in about a year and a half.
Clear skies, clean air. That's what it's all about. We've thrown tons of filth to the winds, blackened our skies, burned our eyes, polluted the air we breathe. Now we search for ways to end our folly. Natural gas? The statistics are impressive. Carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, hydrocarbons, reduced by nearly 90%. Lead and smoke eliminated completely. Natural gas? Clean and practical for those taxi and delivery truck fleets that produce 35% of the vehicle pollution in our cities. Natural gas. The final answer? That's hard to say. In some states, supplies are limited, but scientists say there is more beneath the ground if we want it. And who is to say what solutions the automobile industry will adopt in coming years? The final answer to the problem of automobile pollution may lie somewhere in the future. But while the work and the talk goes on, perhaps there is a place for natural gas in the dual fuel cars now. Clear skies, clean air. That's what it's all about.